Chapter 24. The imperial throne was vast. The imperial throne was gold. It was diamond. It was spun pearl. It was viridian, opal, agate, majolica. It was carved fake ebony. It was spun draconian galaxite. It was rainbows of stars and the plasma of nebulae imaged in spheres of perfect crystal. The canopy of the imperial throne was as high as the great rainforest trees that no longer grew on earth. The pillars that supported the imperial throne were as huge as those of the long-eroded Parthenon, and the air in and around the imperial throne was filtered and scrubbed until it was as clear as the air of mountain valleys had once been, before they had been filled with the detritus of centuries of industry and war. In the middle of the imperial throne, on cushions of velvet and satin and force and air, sat the tiny, wrinkled husk of a woman, the Empress. Her hand still rested on the controls of the gold and obsidian Magnaflux drive, which had brought her instantaneously from Earth to Tractis, the single most powerful machine in human history, controlled by the single most powerful human ever to breathe the air of Earth. Sam stood, refusing to kneel. She wasn't a subject of this woman. She didn't care what everyone else was doing. The humans, the Earth reptiles, Draconians, Ice Warriors, Zygons, Gorentelech, even the Tractites all knelt around her. Thousands of them in every kind of regalia under the almost infinite marble and gold ceiling. But the doctor had remained standing, despite the weakness of his still emaciated body. So Sam was standing too. She felt the Empress's eyes on her, felt the power for a moment. At last the shriveled woman spoke. "It pleases us to allow the request of the Protectorate of Eta Centauri 6 to assume the status of a Duchy Royal, with the name of Tractis. It further pleases us to appoint as our personal representative to the Duchy the Earth Reptile Ambassador, General Menarch." A pause. The eyes in the shriveled face blinked. "So decreed by authority of the voice of the people of the Empire, on this day—" "You know who she reminds me of?" whispered the doctor. Sam shrugged. "Old friend of mine, named Davros. He used to make decrees as well, and it didn't do him much good either." "Never met him," said Sam. "I hope you don't." Sam glanced up at him, frowning. There had been a definite undertone to those words, as if, well, think about that tomorrow. The cheering had started around them. The Empress's decree didn't sound like much, but in practice, the doctor assured her it amounted to independence. In here, the Baron's residence, the cheering was muted, but outside, Sam knew it would be like thunder, the joyful braying of 1,000 million horses. But when Sam looked up at the doctor's face, there were tears on his cheeks. Amazed, she put a hand on his arm. "What's the matter?" "Morvril," said the doctor. "Kittig, all the others. I wish—" Sam bit her lip. "So do I." She still hadn't told him about that first shot, about the Tractite she had killed. Somehow, she couldn't quite bring herself to do it. She tried a smile. At least we could save the Haberlines. It had almost been worth it, seeing the smiles on those nearly human faces when the doctor had walked among them, feeding them with vaccine-filled jelly babies. The doctor jogged her arm, and Sam realized that the Earth Reptile Ambassador General had begun to speak, announcing free elections and the formation of a planet-wide council. "Will it work?" muttered Sam as he droned on. The doctor shook his head. "The Earth emigrants will form a separatist party and assassinate council members. The Empire will be falling apart by then, but it will try to restore order. Unfortunately, it will make a mess of it. Hundreds of thousands of people will be dead at the end of the war. But after that, it will get better. It will." A pause. "Anyway, it's the best I could do." Sam looked down at the jewel-studded floor, then took a grip on the doctor's arm and began to steer him towards the exit. "What's the matter?" he asked. "Where do you want to go?" She flashed him a grin. "Come on," she said. "There's a world to explore. And whatever's going to happen, they're happy today." The doctor looked at her for a moment, then smiled back. It was like a moment of sunrise. She led him outside beyond the marble gardens and sterile air that blew from the palace, under a blue sky and along the coloured streets of a vast and happy city, where the billion inhabitants of a small grassy planet were celebrating their freedom and their victory.